ready. Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libos.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are you all lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want go!
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
For Wednesday Week! Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. Hot on the heels of having our backside handed to us at a canter by Leeds United. Coming up, we're going to the West Country. Actually, no, they're coming to us. We're going to be playing Bristol City, the Robins, another game in what we like to call the Ornithology League, as we talk about Bristol City in... I swear to God, that gets louder. I think I've played with some settings and it's quite loud, Dan. How you getting on, mate? You all right?
I'm not bad. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad. Still got the mug on. I must admit, it's been a shit week to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan. We've got the chairman being a child. We've got Leeds just battering us. Like, we ran around and we're going, hey, this is all right. You know, we could come back into this. But essentially, we played into their hands a little bit. We just kind of went... let them do the running and Ampadu at the back's going, all right, crack on, man, do what you want. It's almost as if they've got Premier League money in the Championship.
Yeah, funny how that helps.
Yeah, weird that, innit? Now, Bristol City, a team that I feel a kinship with, given that we've both tried to get into the Premier League via the playoffs and lost to Hull City 1-0. And... But there's an element of wanting to buck the trend a little bit because of the way that finance payments and FFP's gone. The top 8 in the Premier League are always going to be the top 8 unless you buy your way in, and the Championship has kind of suffered as a result. There's no one really going to break into those yo-yo clubs, is there?
I think we're probably going to see the same clubs just.
Bouncing around
and the same clubs thriving. I think right now we're one of those clubs that are just, we are what we are.
Yep.
We don't have parachute payments. I think it would take something incredible for us to break, not necessarily into the top 6, but ever the pessimist. I can't see us as ever challenging to go up, really.
It's an interesting one because you guys, Bristol City right now are mid-table, and we're just getting accustomed to being mid-table. And now Bristol City have been a mid-table club for a couple of years now. How do you do it? It's mental. One week you can spank somebody 4-0 and then get your ass handed to you by somebody fighting off relegation. It's nuts.
I think the Championship beyond those teams with parachute payments is fairly equitable. Obviously, there's the ones at the bottom. Any club that Wayne Rooney gets his hands on is always going to be hovering down the bottom. But it's a fairly equitable league. I think any team can beat any other team on their day. Let's be honest. But I think in the Championship that's turned up to 11. Like, we know that there's going to be 15 clubs in the middle that are just crap.
Yeah. Except
the days when they're suddenly, peak Barcelona and everyone's like, oh, maybe we're turning a corner. No, you're not. You're not.
Yeah. Oh, and then they kind of sneak into the playoffs and go, oh, we hit form at the right time. They get promoted and go, this is well hard up here. This is nuts, man.
But then you look at Luton. They seem to be the one case where they've done nothing with their parachute payments. Like, where is that money going?
I've no idea. Did they just spunk it all on your Premier League stalwarts such as Ross Barkley and
Andros Townsend?
Andros Townsend, that's the other one. Yeah, just bouncing around. They're just having a great time. They're just picking up paydays and all the rest of it. So listen, it's been a while since we last spoke. 0-0 draw, not exactly a classic. The last time we met down at Ashton Gate. I've got your starting lineup knocked up. I prepped some graphics down. What about this? Nice. Look at that. O'Leary, Pring, McNally, Viner, Tanner, Knight, Williams, Hirakawa. I hope I've got that right. Twine. I've got randomly the word number in there. And
I love the fact that you've just thrown convention out the window on the last one there.
No. I've just realised that. And you know what the worst bit is?
We
We're
can
not
edit this out,
live.
right?
Yeah, we're not live, and I'm just going to leave that in. I'm not. And that's why we're award-winning, Daniel. That's why.
Right.
Number. So yeah, he's in there. Is this been your settled 11 now? Am I expecting any shocks?
You never know really what to expect. I'd be very, very, very shocked if we had Mame, Hirakawa, and Twine in at the same time. They might threaten to score a goal, so we ain't going to do that. Yeah, I mean, at the back, I think we're fairly reasonable, and that could be the team. I think it's more likely Hayden Roberts playing sort of that left wing back role, Ross McCrory on the right, and then Viner, McNally, and Dickey as a back three.
It's an odd couple of seasons for Bristol City, because you always seem to unearth these players that all of a sudden become great and then they get seemingly taken off you. However, there's part of me that's looking at that with a bit of green-eyed monster, because to have a sustainable club that kind of pays for itself must be actually all right. I mean, where do you sit on the selling club side? Do you feel like that's where you sit? And who's next?
I mean, well, who's next is an interesting one. I think ultimately it is what it is. Like, what are we going to do about it? If we've sold players from our academy for 50-60 million quid in the past 6-7 years. So without that money, we're going to our owner cap in hand. We don't want to do that, and he doesn't want to. He wants us to be as sustainable as possible. The difficulty we've got right now is who is next, because Liam Manning is shown a real reluctance to put any faith in youth in the way that Pearson did. Nigel Pearson put Alex Scott in there, and he's the one really that I was like, let's build. Like, we've got one season. We know we've got one season with this kid before he goes on to bigger things. Bournemouth being bigger than us is a bit of a bone of contention, but whatever.
Do you feel that personal living here, having lived in Poole for so long? Does that one?
Yeah,
feel
I do. I was 10 years old when we left Bristol, and I remember Bournemouth's first team being outside the Winter Gardens with buckets for change. I'm being dead serious. That's how close they came. That's what they the barrel they were scraping. And now suddenly they're buying players off us for 25 million pounds. So yes, it's a little bit raw, that one, mate. But yeah, Alex Scott was the one where I thought, let's do this. Like, this is a Premier League player playing for us. Let's build. And we just didn't. And then the really frustrating thing with that is it felt like it was a personal thing against Nigel Pearson to not back him. He was there to stabilize, reduce the wage bill, and then now we've got Manning and we've backed him, and what we've bought and the returns we've got is honestly pretty pathetic. It's not what you'd expect when you've shelled out £10 million in a summer.
I must admit, my knowledge of Liam Manning is quite limited. Where's he from? How's he all of a sudden the Bristol City manager? Because like Nigel Pearson, right, when you think about it, bounced around the Premier League and the Championship for a number of years. It's been it's a name at that level. Liam Manning just seems to have popped up out of nowhere.
I think this trend now, and Wednesday have done the same thing, albeit from Germany, of hiring these career coaches isn't necessarily a bad development. Like, I feel like Manning and Roll are probably comparable. Roll was definitely more successful. I think he was with the German national team coaching for a while, wasn't he? Yeah. But they were two players who didn't have massively successful playing careers and applied themselves at a young age to become and to earn money from coaching. And they've both dug out decent careers. I think, Danny Roll will probably be robbed off of you lot fairly soon if he trends the way he has. Yeah. Liam Manning is hated by our fan base. Hated. And I'll tell you why. It's by proxy, really, because they hate the Lansdowns now. This is the... Oh,
really? Have you turned on the Lansdowns?
They've turned on the Lansdowns because in the 20 years that 10, 20 years plus that the Lansdowns have had controlling interest in the club, we haven't really progressed. We have, but progression is relative. You don't progress once. Of course you do, but then you don't dine out on that for the next 15 years. You have to progress again. You have to be looking forward. And, I think, Nigel Pearson was so massively popular. I could take or leave him, but
I was going to say I didn't think you were. Having spoke to you about Nigel Pearson, obviously, in the times we spent together, you kind of weren't sold on him. I feel like there was parts of it where you said, look, he don't mind bringing the youth players through, which is great, but also he's a bit of an arrogant sort.
Yeah, and I think that's it. That's it. Like, his football wasn't particularly inspiring, but it certainly wasn't going to get. It was more likely to send us up than take us down. Mm-hmm. The cult of personality around him at the club is unbelievable. Obviously I'm very far removed from it now. I'm 3,500 miles away, but anything that Manning does, if Manning gets us promoted by the playoffs, it would be, Pearson would have taken us up automatic. And
really?
I'm now just waiting for Manning to be fired so people shut the fuck up about that. Do you know what I mean? So that it's not Manning hasn't stolen Pearson's job, and we can put Pearson in the rear view, and actually move on, because it's incredible. I understand people liked Nigel Pearson. Life goes on. The problem is that Liam Manning plays god awful football,
right?
And it's the same problem I had with Lee Johnson. It's so risk averse. And, given that he's been, he brought in Yu Hirakawa, he brought in Scott Twine, who are ostensibly forward-thinking players. It's so conservative. Yesterday against Coventry was unbelievably poor. We were playing against a team not great. And
not under Frank Lampard.
And I think that was it as well. Like, Frank Lampard, let's be honest, not a great coach.
No,
he isn't a great coach. He's, he did a passable job at Derby. Not a great coach. Liam Manning, his in-game management is so poor that we were allowing Coventry time on the ball and had no way to adapt. Mm-hmm. And then his subs, he brings on Sinclair Armstrong, who I'm not going to go into too much depth, but presumably you bring him on for his physical attributes. There's no one within 25 yards of him. So how the hell is he going to knock anything on? What are you using his physicality for? To just bash around a few defenders, hoping that Scott Twine will get it's just not good. It's not good at all. Right. It's boring and uninspired.
It's interesting because when I was speaking to a Leeds fan last week, they were talking about Daniel Farke being risk averse, and having just watched the game that we've just watched there, they've got reams of quality in that team, as much as I hate to admit it. Mm-hmm. And at the very least, they're above the Blades at the top of the league, right? But I like Leeds and Sheffield United at the top of the league. Christ, I'm taking this personal now. You know what I mean? And watching them play this risk-averse football is I want to say it's like what Carlos did with us a few years ago. Like, there's a degree of success with it, but God, it's not great to watch, is it? It's difficult to watch because some nerd ruined football about 8-9 years ago, didn't they? Like, you look at Arsenal and their set piece stuff that they do, and the Newcastle do the same, play for set pieces, because some nerd sat there and went, actually, statistically, there's more goals coming from set pieces and playing five at the back, and you're like, God, is football that dead now? Is football dead? And then, on the other hand, there is an element of, well, look, if it's successful and you're winning games, does it really matter? And I don't know which side of the fence I sit on, especially having to do a football show like this, where I have to watch a load of bloody football. And it's getting boring. And then Paul Ross on a Thursday night's got me watching Premier League football and bloody Europa League when I'm on at 1:30 with him. It's boring. Oh my God, have you seen it?
I mean, look, I don't watch any football outside of Bristol City anymore. It doesn't do the same thing for me that other sports do. It doesn't excite me in the same way as it used to. And I do think I'm all for a good metric. They're not the be all and end all. I think ultimately the metric is who sticks the ball in the back of the net more than anyone else. That's what it boils down to. You can, and there's XG and all this other utter shit that I just don't care about. I just don't care about it. And I think that's why modern coaches like Liam Manning are as risk averse, because they're so terrified of conceding a goal. It's, okay, what is if Scott Twine has the ball at his feet, what is the chances that even if Sinclair Armstrong runs it behind, is it a 30% chance that he completes that pass? Is it a 70% chance? Even if it's 70, is the 30% too much of a risk to play that pass, give up possession? And I'm like, why don't we just play the pass? Why don't we just play the pass?
Let's just see if we get somebody on his feet, get the crowd behind him, and all the because there's a lot with football that what you'd call unquantifiable, right? So you don't know the effect on a player if the crowd's up and dancing around and cheering your name and stuff like that, and you get that extra yard of pace and things like that. And I know it's a really terrible example, but there's a lot of unquantifiables in football. And you and I watch a few American sports, and they're absolutely obsessed with statistics, and a lot of them are personal statistics as well. So, for example, this quarterback's got 300 rushing yards this season, and people are like, "Oh my God, well done." How did the team get on? Do you know what I mean? Right. Did they win? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think we've gone a little bit crazy with it, and people will point fingers at who is to blame and all that kind of stuff. But the game is so fluid. It isn't like the NFL. You and I both watch it. We'll be watching a game in a few hours. It isn't like that. We're not drawing up, aside from set pieces, we're not necessarily drawing up plays. We need to know, what is the weakness of the centre half that we're facing, or should we press them? Will we press them into a mistake, or if we give them time on the ball, will they lump it long in and give us possession back? I'm all for in knowing the team that you're playing and and going at them. I don't again, XG, I don't give a shit about. I just don't care about these silly little metrics. What is 49% possession against 51% possession? I don't care. I don't care.
You don't get any points for any of those statistics, do you?
You don't.
You know what I mean? Look at Nottingham Forest. They're something like 25% every game, and they're second in the bloody league or whatever, or third now, aren't they? Get in the bin. Get in the bin. Listen, let's get back to Bristol City. I could whinge about modern football all day. Now, the Bristol City and Sheffield Wednesday, not great rivals. I mean, it means a lot to me and you, don't get me wrong, but not great rivals. It's just one of those middle of the table clashes that could go absolutely anywhere in it. You know what I mean? I don't think there's anybody focuses on this fixture more than you and I.
Right. There's not a single neutral in the world going to watch this game.
No, not one. Not one.
No one's going off. Have you heard City versus Wednesday?
Oh my God! What?
What are you doing?
So, in terms of how it's going to go, I'm fascinated by these fixtures. That two teams that don't really give a shit about each other. They're always. There's never a ding dong in terms of 4-0 or an absolute spanking. You and me never get to have the bragging rights for longer than about 3 months, do we? Because it'll be 1-0 at your gaff and then 2-1 at this gaff, and it's all over the shop, innit? I mean, have you got any expectations about getting up to Hillsborough? You know what I mean? And how the lads are going to get on and all the rest of it? Because everybody's excited. We're all on tenterhooks here, Dan.
I think this is the kind of game that is going to be so low scoring that you're going to spend 80% of it on your phone. It's going to be one of those. I just don't. I haven't watched much of Wednesday, especially not this season. I'm sure Danny Roll is doing decent things. I don't see this being. It's going to be a draw or a win either way by the odd goal.
A narrow win.
There's nothing about this fixture that speaks to me. They're screaming at me. Yeah, we can win this at a canter. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing about it that's saying to me, yes, this is the game where Liam Manning is going to say to Yu Hirakawa, go and do what we signed you to do. No.
Yeah.
He's going to play the wing back if he comes on at all, and he'll get 3 touches of the ball for the half an hour that he plays.
I was going to say, how's he getting on? You know what I mean? With these, I hope I get the term right, the East Asians coming into British football. There's an interesting dynamic there because they don't subscribe to all the British football nonsense. You know what I mean? That comes with playing football in this country. You've got to be a certain height to be a goalkeeper, and because you're the short one, you've got to be the tackling midfielder because you're not going to win any headers and all that nonsense. And I always wonder about these players that don't have that culture behind them to come over here and having to listen to this nonsense when, they might just be sat there thinking, well, I'm quick and I can kick a ball. What else do you need? Like,
Yeah.
I mean? Has he managed to settle into the environment? I mean,
on the playing side, it must be incredibly difficult for him, and I think I would go as far as to say he's been mismanaged. I don't think you sign a player from Japan. He's on loan with an option to buy. I don't think you do that unless you are 100% certain that this is a player.
Yeah.
And we don't play
no
him.
quantity.
Right. He his first couple of games he looked great. Like he can beat a man, he can play a ball into the box. He looked really exciting. He looked like the kind of player who, a risk-averse manager wouldn't play. And lo and behold. And I'm like, the thing for me is you've brought him thousands and thousands of miles. I know what it's like to go somewhere and have to fit into a different culture. And, Canada and England are basically the same.
The same, mate.
The only difference is that I get the piss taken out of me every 10 seconds for something I've said. He doesn't speak the language properly. He's in such an alien environment, and he plays for a quarter of an hour if he's lucky. What are we hoping that he's going to do here? And we're not in a situation now where he's been kind of, okay, let's sort you out. Let's, make sure you've got good accommodation, that you've got people around you that can help, culturally. We'll give you some under 23s playing time so you can get used to the hustle and bustle of the English game. Then we'll start to. No, we're now 60% the way through the season, and he's being mistreated in my opinion. Like why bring him over? Somebody who can genuinely attack, but that's it. Manning seems so genuinely terrified that we might concede a goal that you're not allowed to run with the ball. You're not allowed to dribble the fucking thing, which when I was a kid was my favorite thing to do with a football. You're not allowed to do it anymore. God, I sound old, but you're not allowed to do it.
We're all men now, mate.
Dribbling has been cancelled.
It's been cancelled. Cos woke, mate. Yeah. Oh, what the hell? You can't do it nowadays. You can't do.
This is the most right wing I've ever been. I'm a right wing football fan. Jesus.
I tell you what. I've just realised you and I have known each other a number of years, and I've just realised that when you were talking about him being in this country and being in the West Country, I nearly endeavoured to do the accent, but with a Bristol twang, and I didn't do it. So that's growth there, Daniel.
That is growth. Congratulations.
You are welcome, ladies and gents, listen to this. Now, like we said earlier, there's no neutrals listening to this thinking, oh my God, what's Sheffield Wednesday, Bristol City getting up to? What are you doing tonight, mate? What are you up to?
I'm hopefully going to watch the Buffalo Bills progress to the AFC Championship game. That'd be nice. I'm a big any other sport but football fan these days.
Not enough set pieces, mate. Not enough set pieces in football.
Yeah, I just love stats so much that I just can't get enough of it.
Now, off air, Dan was telling me about this boozer, and I'm intrigued about it. Right, so tell me, $6 beers. What's that in English?
What did I say? About £3.50, I think, at the moment.
£3.50
and craft beer as well. And I know you're going to make fun of me and say where it's like.
Oh no, mate! This shop, this show goes all out in Sheffield. We're all about the craft beer nowadays. It's got on up north. We're all drinking out of planks
nice.
And having our chips served on.
I've got one of them right there, a little decorative piece.
Have you robbed it or have you paid for it?
No, I paid for it.
Oh, look at you, Duck.
I know, right?
Well done, you. All right, listen. let's put a pin in that. Listen, I hope. I was going to say I hope the Bills do well tonight, but no, fuck them.
You want the Ravens to win?
Yeah, I don't. Can both teams lose? Is that a thing? Can happen? I kind of want that. I just nearly said, I just hope a big bomb explodes the stadium just so no team wins. But I didn't say it. So that's growth as well. Hey, honestly, it's like there's jokes just flying around and then one will pop into my head. And then now there's this little filter that comes in that goes, can I say that out loud? No, you can't.
Proud of you for that.
Yeah, that filter is only recent. Listen, Dad, thanks a lot, mate. I hope you have a good evening, and thanks a lot for joining us. Sheffield Wednesday play Bristol City midweek. Give me a score prediction, Dan.
1-1.
I think it's going to be 1-1 as well. It's not going to be a classic. Stay
It's
at
not
home.
going to be great.
Get warm. Stay on the line. See you later. Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday week. Bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there for podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.